Hello and welcome to Trading Movies. I'm Junaid,
I'm Omar.
and today we're talking about the new release, Knock at the Cabin.
Shyamalan.
So we had the pleasure of watching this film over opening weekend. I have a lot of thoughts coming out of the movie. Omar, maybe we'll just start at the top. What did you think of the film?
It was a film that I thought showed some real potential in terms of where it was going to go. It kept you thinking where it was going to go, which is what I expect from a M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's like when I'm watching it, I want to be engaged enough and understand and think like, okay, where is this going to go? Because there's always somewhere it's going to go, and so a lot of the times with a Shyamalan movie, it's going to surprise you.
Yeah.
So even though there were parts in this screenplay that I thought were a little bit draggy
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit, slow,
Mm-hmm.
that were kind of boring me at times, I was like, okay, but hopefully the end pays off. Hopefully the end pays off. And that's what I was waiting for the whole time.
Yeah, I would say I would largely agree with you. I would give this movie like a 6.5 out of 10. I think if I were to give it a rating.
Yeah.
Similar to you, I think when you come into an M. Night Shyamalan movie, you are expecting to be led to a cliff and then pushed off of it, and you hope that the view is worth it, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, we were talking about this prior to the movie, but prior to us recording, I should say. This film is based off a book, so I was hoping that it would keep maybe someone else's ending, so we wouldn't have to necessarily rely on Shyamalan to hit the ball out of the park again.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll give a rough plot summary, and then we can dive into it a little bit. So the plot summary is pretty basic. A family of three are vacationing at a remote cabin, but they are held hostage by four strangers who demand they sacrifice one of their own to avert the apocalypse. And that's literally it. That's the whole film.
Yeah.
Like we said, written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan, but it's based on a book that was released in 2018. And the book has a different ending. So M. Night Shyamalan decided to take it his own direction.
Yes. Which I'm not surprised by. A couple of things to start off with. So obviously it's a brand new movie. So what we'll do is I'll say a couple of things that are non-spoiler, and then we'll give you a heads up if we're going to talk about any spoilers.
Yeah.
But off the bat, you have these four characters who show up at this cabin where two husbands and a daughter are staying, and all of a sudden you learn about this apocalypse and how they need to sacrifice one at a time if otherwise the world's going to end, and you learn all this, and we just get no backstory throughout the entire movie.
Totally random.
Yeah, we get no backstory. Like I was like, at some point we're going to learn about where these four people came from, what their circumstances were. Like, why are these four out of the 7 billion people in the world? Why are these four responsible for coming here and giving you the message and doing these tasks? Like, a little bit of description on that is also what I was waiting for, but we got nothing.
Yeah, it's almost like he had a fully formed picture. Like it was drawn. He had chosen the colors, but he didn't finish coloring.
Yeah.
And that was missing in the movie. And it's not a particularly long movie to start with. I think it's only like around 100 minutes long. So it's not like oh, there's stuff on the cutting room floor that he could have added to make it more fleshed out. I just think they fully lacked any way for us as the viewer to connect with those four characters. Now they make allusions to them having nightmares and dreams.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have been more connected to them if I had seen that. If I had seen a nightmare, seen what they had seen.
Yeah.
Right? It's a visual medium. You can show us these things.
Exactly.
Right? You can even show us all four of them having the same experience, and then it culminating in them going to this cabin.
Yeah.
But
yeah, how did these four people meet?
Yeah.
What visions did they have that led them together?
There's
how
all vague allusions. Internet web, they met on a web forum, maybe, we don't know. They all had the same dream, maybe, we don't know. And they're all vastly different people. Maybe it's a good time to get into who these are. So these four individuals, led by Dave Bautista playing Leonard, and then there's Abby Quinn who plays Adrienne, Nikki Anuka Bird who plays Sabrina, and then Rupert Grint of Ron Weasley fame who plays Redmond. They all did bang up jobs. I thought they acted well.
Yeah.
They, in times where they should cry, they cried, and and they did have an emotionality to their performance, but it was missing that grounded feeling you need to connect to characters, and that lack of storytelling was really, it was blatant, like it was obvious.
So there was no one to connect to. I almost think that Shyamalan made a creative choice here not to give us any backstory on these four intruders, so to say, because he wanted us to watch this movie from the perspective of the two husbands, the family that's being invaded
You
on.
have no other context.
Yeah, you have no other
besides
context.
this.
So essentially, what he wants, I think, essentially what he wanted was to give us his experience of what would we do in the same situation. We don't have a backstory if we're in that situation. We're here led to believe something's happening. We have to make a sacrifice. The world's going to end. Are we going to believe it? Are we not going to believe it? Are we going to do what we think we need to do? So he wants to put us, I guess, in the same position. Yeah. And I guess giving us storylines for these people would have maybe steered our bias towards them.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I almost imagine if another storyteller was given this, they would have, the first 20 minutes of the film would have been like these four people going through this experience, this psychological experience of these dreams or whatever, seeing the apocalypse, and then you just cut and you don't come back to them till like minute 60. And then when you come back to them is when they knock on the cabin. So you get the context before, and then nothing in the middle, and then the last third of the movie they're here.
Yes,
that's almost what I think another director would have done. But the way this film is shot, you're absolutely right. You don't leave that cabin. You don't leave that space around it, that acre around it. And we should say, from a practical shooting standpoint, they literally built this cabin. It didn't exist. He built it. He designed it in his head, and he was like, okay, it needs to be exactly the way I framed it. So clearly, he was thinking about this movie and the way he was trying to put you exactly in a place, just like a horror movie wants you to be in the haunted house.
Exactly.
Same thing.
So I guess he was going for the very real experience in this very unrealistic story. But
yeah, and I can totally understand being incredulous if four people knock at your door saying you have to kill one of your family members or else the apocalypse happens. Like that, I would be like, got some proof here. I would be just like we're saying right now. I would have those same questions.
Yeah,
but
I would deny it.
Again, as a filmmaker, you have the power to show us these things, so why not show us?
Exactly. So show them to us.
I would like that, please.
But again, like a lot of Shyamalan creative choices, this is another one we don't understand.
Yeah, and it's funny we say that, but he knocked off Avatar: Way of Water in the box office. Like the guy made $21 million opening weekend. So
he always he is. I mean, he has a following. The people are going to go watch his movie.
Yeah,
like we went to watch his movie despite knowing we've been disappointed by him before.
and we were hoping, and we were like, not this time. Yeah. No, not this time.
That's what happens because that's his pull. I think it's because everyone knows that when you go see a Shyamalan movie, something surprising may happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something surprising. Either makes you think what the hell, or it makes you think, whoa, that was crazy.
I think his movies are also worth coming back to as you age, because I think you relate to them more differently. Like the Village, that's the one, right? I think it is.
The Village I've actually never seen.
You haven't seen The Village?
No, I haven't seen The Village.
Wow, I'm gonna put that in my back pocket. Okay, good to know. It's just more interesting, I guess, as you age compared to when you watch them as like a young teen, and you're like, this is so dumb, But we've been talking a little negatively about the film, and we did talk about it trying to plant us in the cabin itself.
Yeah,
I think one of the positives coming out of the movie and how he really got us to feel like we were in the cabin is the way the film was shot. A lot of close-ups, a lot of like in-your-face close-ups. Like it felt like you were part of a conversation in a confined space, and that really felt like you were there, and I like that.
And I noticed that from the very first shot of the movie.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. You notice it from the very beginning, and it's very consistent throughout.
Yeah, and that first shot I really enjoyed that first shot because so this is a little bit of backstory. It's not really a spoiler, but if you're listening to this podcast, I feel like you're not worried about being spoiled at this point, so I'll disregard it. Dave Bautista's character, Dave Bautista, is an ex-wrestler, massive, right? And he's supposed to portray, he's a second grade teacher, okay? And the opening of this movie is him talking to this child star, whose character's name is Wen. And he really portrays a sincerity and a kindness that you would expect from a second grade teacher, right from that first scene. And the way it's shot, the angles with which it's shot, you have the impression that this is a massive human and this is a tiny human talking to each other.
Yeah.
But he still feels completely gentle and friendly.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought that was a really, really great way of setting the tone for the movie off the top.
Yeah. No, for sure, because he comes in as a gentle giant, and it keeps thinking like, what is he doing? Why is he being so kind? Like right off the bat, I'm thinking this is a villain.
And we as as people who saw the trailer, already know the concept of the movie. Like the plot outline I read at the top is literally all in the trailer. So we know what's going to happen.
Yes.
But we're like, why are you approaching it this way? Why'd you come first? We know there's a bunch of other people coming.
Yeah.
Right. And so I really enjoyed that. And Bautista overall, his performance was exemplary. And he carried the whole film. I thought.
For sure. He did a great job. I mean, I thought acting overall was fine. I mean, the acting of the husbands was fine. I thought I didn't think they were anything special. But
I liked Ben Aldridge more than Jonathan Groff. Ben Aldridge was the one who had the gun.
Yeah,
in his truck. I liked him more than the
better.
Other one.
Yeah, I did like him better as well. But yeah, Dave Bautista is the one that really kept this film going.
Yeah, and it was more than just the way he was a gentle giant throughout the movie, but you could tell, at least his character, the way, because he was given the most lines, the most screen time, he felt tortured, he felt aggrieved. And again, I wish, as someone who watches movies, I wish we got to see him beyond just the cabin, you know, and we got to experience him living his everyday life as a second grade teacher, and having these painful flashes of whatever is going to happen in the back of his head. Exactly. That would have been great to see.
Yeah, like what are the extent these flashes go to make this come about?
Yeah, to make all four of these people who generally we assume are regular, healthy people. At least three of them are. One of them is clearly a horrible person.
Yes.
Ron Weasley's character.
Yeah.
Raymond or Edmund, whatever his name is. But the other three, they were all like functioning members of society, right? But what makes them, like the nurse, played by Nikki Anuka Bird, Sabrina, she's like, I got rid of all my I spent all my life savings to come here. Yeah. Show us why. Yeah. Show us the experience you're going through for why you decided, you, a perfectly functional member of human society, decide to drop everything and come here.
Yeah.
Show us.
But it just showed, the other thing that really showed me, or really honed down on the point that I think, the reasoning I think is because you see Ron, Rupert Grint's character, and you see before, in the first bit when he's after a while he's introduced to them, one of the husbands, he notices that he might have seen him before.
Yeah.
And he might not only seen him, but he might have been someone who attacked him at a bar before.
Yeah.
And then they actually go at some point, to a flashback of that scene. And it's someone who, even when we look at, we're like, oh, it looks like him, but his hat's over his face. We can't see if it's actually him.
Mm-hmm.
So again, when he does that, when he shows us that scene again, I'm just like, okay, he really wants us in the minds of
those characters.
Yeah. Those are the minds he's telling the story from, because exactly what they're thinking now, we're like, oh, it could be him. It could be him. We don't know.
Yeah, and we should say, M. Night Shyamalan was not shying away from using flashback. He did use it a couple of times in the film. But he, again, like you illustrated, he only uses just the two fathers as the avatars for the characters.
So we're seeing everything that they perceive.
Yeah.
Throughout this film, which is a choice that he made, and I'm okay with that choice. I mean, I think in some places it adds to the suspense of it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So not saying that was a bad choice or anything, but it gives us some understanding into why we don't get more flashbacks of other characters.
Yeah.
But as a viewer, I still would have liked to see it.
Yeah, and again, man, you had more time in the movie. It's not like it was 2.5 hours long, right?
You could have put an extra 40-50 minutes in that movie.
If you wanted to. You didn't need to. I'm not necessarily advocating for another hour.
Yeah.
But you totally could have. You had an extra 20 minutes if you needed to.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't necessarily watching my watch when
I wasn't either. I mean, and it was, I think, like you said, it was 100 minutes, an hour and 40 or so.
Mm-hmm.
You could easily stretch that to 2:15
if you needed to.
2:20. 2:15, 2:20. People look at that. It's already a long movie.
Well, it's a thriller. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. That's what people expect when they're going to the movies, right?
Yeah.
An hour 30 minutes, hour 40 minutes is what I expect of like a Netflix movie.
Yeah, exactly.
A little smaller, a little more contained. Whereas if I'm going to, like we've talked about before, it's more of an event, right? M. Night Shyamalan, Chris Nolan,
exactly,
James Cameron, those kinds of guys.
But I almost wonder if they had more filmed, and he made more of a decision to stick with it this way after.
Yeah, and we'll never know, I guess, because people don't buy Blu-rays with extras anymore.
Yeah,
so
true.
We'll never know, but maybe on YouTube in 5 years we'll find it.
Deleted scene.
Yeah, deleted scenes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but again, I listened to a podcast actually with M. Night Shyamalan on it, and he was talking about this movie. So apparently he was approached to produce it, not actually to write and direct it.
Okay.
And then he said, no, I don't like the ending. I want to change it. And that's why when they came to him then to direct it, he was like, okay, but if I'm going to do it, like I want to do it my way, because from his perspective, at least from what I gleaned from this podcast, he wanted it to be a more positive ending.
Okay.
So maybe we can spoil it now. Boom, boom, boom! Spoiler incoming. The way the movie ends versus the way the book ends. So in the movie, they end up sacrificing. One of the fathers sacrifices themselves, and the apocalypse stops. Whereas in the book, alternatively, when they're scuffling for the gun inadvertently goes off. It kills their daughter, and because that wasn't a sacrifice, the apocalypse doesn't end, and that the couple decide to spend eternity together as opposed to kill each other, or one of them kills each other. Yeah. So the assumption being that the apocalypse continues.
Yeah,
that would have been an interesting ending.
It would have been a great ending.
The book ending, yeah. Yes. The book ending would have been a very interesting commentary on everything.
Yes, I agree with that. I would have liked. I mean, I prefer the book ending over what Shyamalan did. Because Shyamalan's ending didn't give us didn't give me the satisfaction that I was looking for. It just kind of felt like,
Yeah, I think overall, I don't know why Shyamalan decided to go this route. Besides, obviously, he just wanted a more positive ending. But I wouldn't want to go down this route. I think if I was the author of this book, who had put all this work in, if I had a seat at the table, I would have been like, man, my ending was pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of movie that the ending completely changes it, right? So yes. If that was the ending, you come out of the movie with a completely different taste in your mouth as to what just happened, what just occurred.
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't really see the Shyamalan twist in this movie. It's not one of those.
No, there's no twist.
There's no twist in this movie.
It's evident from the first.
It's evident, yeah.
2 minutes.
It's just literally just going in one direction. It's linear, and it just ends linear. That's all it is.
Everything is calculated. Every death, everything that happens throughout the movie, essentially forecasted right at the top of the movie.
Yeah,
and in the trailer. So
yeah, but the reason I prefer the book ending as well is that it kind of makes you think, or it makes you. It really does make you sit there and think, well, would I do that as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's exactly it, right? Yeah. It's a prisoner's dilemma. It's like, have you ever seen that show on Netflix called, I think it's like The Platform?
I haven't seen it.
It was like a Spanish show. Essentially, like there's like 100 levels in a platform, and the food starts at the top and it makes its way to the bottom, and you have to decide: are you going to eat everything? Or are you going to leave some for the next people at the next platform? Whatever. True. Anyways, same scenario.
Yeah.
You put yourself in that situation. Squid Game, another example. You put yourself in that situation. Would I do it for this amount of money? Would I not? Blah, blah, blah. That is what makes thrillers so fun.
Yeah.
Because you put yourself in the situation, and that's why things, like when they make stupid decisions in horror movies or thrillers, it makes us so angry.
Yes.
Because we think, there's no way anyone in this situation would actually do this, and it takes us out of the suspension of reality that we're in there, you know? And that's annoying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but this didn't really give you that. This attempted to give you that.
It did. It tried.
It tried to give you that. Yeah.
I think it stopped midway point.
It did stop. So that's why this movie kind of drops in that 6.5 out of 10 range for me.
Yeah.
Is just because it doesn't hit the notes I want it to hit.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It has great acting from top to bottom. I would say even the child actress, I believe her name is Kristen Cui, who plays Wen. She's so cute.
Yes.
Such a great actress. She's just doing a good job. Very annoying at certain parts, exactly as she needs to be. And it's directed well, acted well, but still it doesn't hit all the marks.
It doesn't hit all the marks. So this raises a question for me, actually, that I wanted to ask you. Is because in the beginning we talked a little bit about, is this a film or is this a film where M. Night Shyamalan knocks it out of the park, where he he does a great job. And I was wondering, because this, had the potential of that, when was the last time, would you say, in your opinion, that M. Night Shyamalan knocked it out of the park?
Okay, I pulled up his discography because I figured you were going to ask me something like that.
Yeah.
What about Split? 2016. Did you ever see it? James
Split,
McAvoy?
And I enjoyed Split. I will say I enjoyed that movie.
But the argument could be made that was James McAvoy, not necessarily M. Night Shyamalan.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's fair.
Because he was literally every scene of that film.
After Earth was horrible. Remember At Last Airbender? Horrible. Very bad film.
Yeah.
What about The Visit? The Visit's a great movie.
See, The Visit is a really fun movie.
Yeah.
Because it has it has the elements of a thriller. It has the elements of a suspense.
Yeah.
And of a creepy, even horror to an extent. It has those elements. It also has comedy in there.
Yep.
It has fun stuff. It has things you can relate to. As
it's a hilarious movie.
It's a great way to he did. I think he did a great job in presenting that story to us. And then it has a nice twist at the end where you're like, oh damn, like
fantastic twist.
It's a fantastic twist in that movie. But The Visit in general, overall, if you look at ratings, isn't like anything spectacular.
Yeah, I think it's just got positive ratings from people who watched it, but it's not anything that I don't think it was a spectacle that people expected.
No,
no one was like, oh, marking my calendars down in January because in June the Visit was coming out from M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah,
it was a very small movie. I mean, he had come off a couple of pretty big flops, and this movie he only got $5 million to make it. It made $100 million back, but before The Visit, he had The Last Airbender, and After Earth. So yeah, not exactly raking it in at the box office. So he even his stock fell. That's why he only got $5 million to make that movie.
True.
And it was great, but I don't know if I guess that is his last movie that I really thought was great.
I think you'd have to go back to Unbreakable or The Sixth Sense for like a true like, oh, this is a great movie.
You don't think The Visit was great? Oh, come on.
No, The Visit was great in terms of an entertainment perspective, right?
Okay, yeah.
It was great.
But in terms, are you talking about like a blockbuster?
A blockbuster or like something that you're just like, whoa, I've never seen anything like that before, kind of thing. And that's where I think he's done something like Sixth Sense or Airbender, and not Airbender. Please, not Airbender. Unbreakable.
Yeah, Unbreakable. I really enjoyed Unbreakable, and I think that trilogy is underrated. Unbreakable, Split, Glass. I think those are actually kind of fun movies.
Yeah, actually, Glass I haven't seen.
You haven't?
No, I've seen Split and but I haven't seen Glass.
That's Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson.
Yeah. Overall, I was hoping that when he was adapting other people's work, he would maybe
stick with their story.
And I think he's just a classic auteur filmmaker, right? Where he has to have it fully in his control, just like Nolan, right? It has to be in his control fully.
Yeah.
Cameron, same thing. Spielberg, same thing. And I don't think he was ever gonna take this film on if he couldn't
change that. No. So he may have produced it if he didn't have the option. But yeah, he definitely wouldn't have directed it if it wasn't his own way of doing it.
Do you think it's because he has 3 daughters? He's like, I can't kill the girl. I just can't.
Could be.
As the father of daughters, I cannot do this.
Could be. Although you know what? I don't think he's the kind of director that would shy away from doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a horror director.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Kind of can't do that.
He won't shy away from it if it needed to be. I will give him, though, that despite that this didn't really have what I was looking for, I would say it was. I'd put it above Old.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely better than Old. I think if you appreciate like good filmmaking, not necessarily a good movie, this has a lot of good filmmaking, a lot of cool shots, a lot of great cinematography. The writing is still hit or miss. The dialogue isn't great, but I really did enjoy the performances. And I don't know if necessarily this is one I'd promote for people to go to the movies to watch. It might be one that you can watch at home and might actually be more effective if you watch it at home, like on like a snowy day or something.
This is a great online streamer.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is made to be watched like on a rainy night at home, or even like if you're going out to like a cottage with friends and you watch a movie late at night. Like this could be a fun watch. Yeah, because it's at a cabin or whatever. But yeah, I don't think I'm necessarily advocating for folks to spend their hard-earned Buccaneers.
It's definitely not one where I would say rush to the theaters to watch.
Definitely not.
No, I mean if you're a big Shyamalan fan, go ahead. But if you're either here or there about going to see this movie, and you don't really care to that extent, I would say sit at home and watch it.
Yeah, save your bucks. Ant-Man's coming out next week. Like watch that instead.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not worth it. But that's our review for Knock at the Cabin. Please like, subscribe, review for more. And Omer, anything else?
That's all. Well, a quick and short review, but hopefully it was telling.
Yeah, there's no twist at the end of this review. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Take care.